Uh, Listen, I won't hold you a long time, but I wanted to talk to you about something that's just kind of been in my mind. You know, I was thinking concerning the time whenever, you remember the Tower of Babel? You remember that story? There was a time there in the book of Genesis. What was it? Chapter, I forget what even chapter it was right now. But this was the story of the Tower of Babel. And it said, everybody was of one language. And it said that because of that, God said, let us go down to take a look at what's going on, because all that they have imagined to do will not be restrained to them. So that's when he went down, he saw the direction that they were going, and he confounded their languages. Now, of course, in that situation, a lot of people say, well, they're not going to build a tower to heaven. Well, it wasn't heaven as you know it and as I know it. I mean, obviously, they're not going to build a tower that goes up into the sky until they run out of oxygen. That wasn't the heaven. It was actually, there was actually, and I'm not going to get too much into the historical view because I want to get to another point, but this was a 7-floor tower that had a little temple on top. And what they had found was they had found a portal, if you will, from the world of the natural into the world of the spirit. In those days, it was very common that you would find angels being involved in things that were taking place. And there's a lot of things that we don't understand there, but the fact is, as God said concerning them, he said, nothing that they have imagined to do will be restrained from them. So that fascinated me. The thing that I'm curious about is how that applies to us, how that applies to you. And so here was the question kind of that I wanted to bring to you, is to say, what do you imagine for yourself? Now, a lot of times we live our life through without ever hooking up with that creative part of us, the part of us that is very much like God. We were created in his likeness, and we were created in his image. And obviously, the reason why these people were able to achieve that is because they were created in the image of God. And so God spoiled their plans by confounding their languages. But I thought about us, and I thought, what exactly do we imagine for ourselves? Now, a lot of people, they only imagine fear. And they imagine doom and gloom, and boy, this is going to go bad, and the COVID's going to get on you, or cancer is going to get on you. And that's where their imagination is working. And unfortunately, many times their imagination is setting things in motion. Do you know that? Your imagination, what you think about, that's the creative room, so to speak. That's the creative department of who you are. And that's the problem, is some people, all of their imagination is caught up in fear, in worry, in hatred, in things that are not only not productive, but in many ways destructive to their life, to their family, to their livelihood. But do you know that within you, that creative part of your life, your imagination, do you see yourself in a different position than you are? Do you ever imagine and see yourself in a healthier position, or in a more prosperous position, or involved in something? See, that's the open door. Your imagination is the very thing that opens the gateway. Actually, the imagination is the gateway to the creative juices of your life that makes what you imagine come to pass. Now, of course, there's a journey in getting there, but the fact is your imagination is incredibly important. So I wanted to just say to you for a couple of moments here, the importance of you changing what you meditate about and what you see. When I imagine something, I'm actually seeing something. Imagination is more than just a thought. It's more of a visual. You know, and so I've got to ask you this question. What is your visual about your life? What do you see about yourself? What does your imagination dare to create? Do you have nerve to imagine or to think about yourself in a different position than you are? I've heard people before talk about they were wanting to achieve something, and they would take actually a picture of it and a picture of what they wanted to achieve and put it on the refrigerator where they could look at it. Now, I'm not talking about doing something that is outside the scope of God's call on your life and the creativity. But the fact is, what they would do is they would look at something until they begin to see it. See, here's the problem is, a lot of times we have difficulty seeing what we want. I'm thinking of Jeremiah chapter 1, where God came to Jeremiah and said, Jeremiah, what do you see? And he said, well, I see this and this. And God said, well, that's good. And then he came to him again and said, Jeremiah, tell me again, what do you see? And for 3 times, God came asking what you see, because that is so important. A lot of people, the healing is really it's reality. Healing works. Healing is a provision for us, but a lot of people can't see it. A lot of people can never see themselves. I say, God's going to prosper you and you're going to come financially into another level. And you just kind of shake your head and go, I just can't see it. See, that's a problem that we have. A lot of times we won't allow ourselves, maybe because of bad teaching, maybe the upbringing, maybe someone told you couldn't ever amount to something or would never amount to something. But the bottom line is that you have the ability that if you can see it, that's the first step to bringing it into your life. And you need to start thinking about that for a few moments. You need to start saying, what do I see about myself? Socially, physically, with my health, financially, with my family. What do I see? Because what you see, what you have in your imagination, opens the door to the creative aspect of you to bring all of that to pass. See, first you're going to see it. And I think that's a great way to put it. I was mentioning somebody before how spiritual things work. And I said, first we hear it. Of course, we hear it from God. But then as soon as we hear it, then we see it. See, a lot of people, they've heard what God said, but I just can't see it. So first you hear it, then you see it. Yeah, I see that. Then you say it, then you walk toward it. That's the pattern that it works on. And so I want to just encourage you today to allow yourself to move out of the realm that you've been in. Maybe you've never been able to move past a certain level. I don't know what your watermark is for yourself financially or physically or whatever the case is, but I want you to allow yourself to see it. Allow yourself to imagine that. Come on, God gave you that. That's not just for heathens that don't know God or some pagan group of people. This is God. This is who you are because you're created in God's image. And you need to allow yourself to see yourself moving to the next level in whatever case that might be. So what do you see? Can you see the increase for your wages? Can you see a raise in your job? Can you see yourself living more prosperous? Can you see it? So you might say, well, I can't see that. Well, then you need to start going back to the promises of God and see what God said about you. Once you hear what God said about you, then you go, yeah, I see that. I can see that. That's the next step. That opens the door. And God said concerning these people, he said, whatever they have imagined, nothing will be restrained from them. Anything that they have imagined will not be. So I want to challenge you in the areas of what you're thinking about. Are you sitting around worrying all day long? Well, you don't need that imagination, because you know what? I believe you help bring that terrible thing to pass. I think you open the door to horrible things just like you open the door to good things. Doesn't that make sense to you? And so what you need to do is you need to change what you're meditating about. Are you afraid? Well, don't allow yourself. I'm not going to allow my mind to go there. I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to, the Bible said, whatsoever things are good, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, think on these things. Why? Because that helps stimulate your mind in the right direction. Your imagination will suddenly begin to open the door to bring those things to pass in you. So you need to get your mind off of the fear. Get your mind off of the lack. Get your mind off of the problems that are around you. That doesn't have to define your life. What you're going to have to do is open the door to something greater to work in your life, and the gateway is your imagination. Okay? So that's kind of what I wanted to share with you today. I want to just encourage you to come on up to another level. Come up to another level. See yourself more healthy than you've ever been, more happy than you've ever been, more prosperous than you've ever been, more socially sound than you've ever been. Somebody says, nobody likes me. Now, well, you need to change that terminology, and don't allow that terminology to be a part of your life. You begin to open up through your imagination or through what you see, having great friends and having, because that's a gateway. It's a gateway. It's not just some magic thing where poof, I imagined it and it, but what it does is what I imagine opens the door that suddenly can now begin to bring it to pass. It opens the door for influence. It opens the door for strength. It opens the door for people to come in and be a part of your life in ways that are very productive for you. You understand? So it's important today. So come on, get out of the mully grubs. You've been dragging around, quit it. We don't need you at this time to be sidelined. You are too important to the game. And we want you to pull yourself together. Don't allow yourself to be discouraged. Don't you dare open the door to say, I'm just depressed. I'm not saying depression won't try to come, but you don't have to let it build a nest in your hair. What do they say concerning, you can't stop a bird from flying over your head, but you can certainly keep him from building a nest in your hair. Now, that's the truth. That's your decision. How am I doing that? I'm not going to allow those thoughts to be a part of me. I'm not going to allow the thoughts of poverty or sickness or disease or failure or any of those things, or discouragement or depression. I'm not letting those thoughts gain way in me. And the reason is because they trigger my imaginations that will create an environment of depression. It will literally create an entire environment of poverty, and it'll show you all the ways that you can die right before everybody's eyes. And you don't need that. What you need to do is allow your imagination to be used in a godly way, in a proper way, in a way that flourishes your life, not diminishes your life. Because I want to tell you something. The watermark for your life, it's going to be surprising to you to see how your imagination has been used to set the watermark for your life. Don't let your thoughts be hijacked nor taken away. Somebody comes in, tries to give you bad news. Listen, I ain't got time for that. My ears aren't trash cans. I don't want to hear how bad everything is, because I don't believe it. Yeah, I know there's some bad things out there, and there are some bad things that may happen, but I'm not taking that from my life, okay? My life, I'm not going that direction, okay? I intend to prosper. I intend to be in health. I intend to flourish. My life is going to be a life of flourishing. I see it. I'm telling you, I see it. I see it. And it almost seems ridiculous to my thinking that it would not happen. You understand? That's what you've got to be like, and you need to fight for that. All right, that's what I've got for you today. I love you guys. Thank you for taking a few moments and joining with me. Would you imagine something about yourself? Come on, if you need some help, I'll be glad to, because I've got a great imagination, I'm telling you. But I want you to maybe leave me a note. Say, I see myself doing this. I see myself healthy. I see myself with a better job. I can see it. And I'm not just talking about just mental assent. I'm just talking about, but I can see it. I literally can see that. That's the direction you're going. I love you guys, and I'm so thankful for you. I really am. Thank you for taking a couple of moments with me. As always, thank you for being my friend. I treasure that more than I could ever say. I love you guys, and I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. Please like, share, subscribe, and leave me a note. Let me know what you're dreaming of. Sometimes the words of your mouth help initiate the imagination, what you see on the inside. As a matter of fact, if you'll real quickly, and I didn't mean to get into this, I'm sorry, but if you'll go to the book of James, it talks about the words of your mouth. It said that the words of your mouth, he said, we put bits in horses' mouths to turn their body this way or that way. And he said, even so, the tongue is a little member and boasts great things. Behold, how great a fire that a little spark will kindle. He's talking about the words of your mouth. So sometimes you've just got to begin to say what you believe and then allow your imagination to pick that up and see it. I'm telling you, it'll change your life. I love you guys. I do. And I'll plan on seeing you tomorrow. You have a great evening. God bless you.